You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us. That's right. Happy Labor Day to everyone out there, because it's Monday, September 5th, and you're getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're on Clubhouse, you can participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story that was most recently presented. But nonetheless, let's pay a bill, and we're going to come right back with the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Monday, everybody, and happy Labor Day. But coming up first to the stage, we have the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte, who, when he's not being a dad at daycare or doing what else dope dads do, you can find him on TEDx. But on holidays, you can also dressing as Florida Man in his spider spandex tank tops. That's right. It is none other than the Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, I like that introduction, Jason. Definitely appreciate that. Thank you for that amazing introduction, and happy Labor Day, and welcome back, everyone, to High at 9 News. My name is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street, and my story today is from Business Insider's Kelsey Vlamis. Trump called on lawmakers to institute the death penalty for drug dealers, despite the fact he pardoned people convicted of selling drugs. The former President Donald Trump made a rally appearance in support of Dr. Oz's campaign in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania this weekend, in his first official public appearance since the August 8th Department of Justice raid of Mar-a-Lago to recover thousands of documents deemed property of the U.S. government. Obviously feeling himself, Trump took to the stage to directly criticize the FBI, the Department of Justice, and President Joe Biden, labeling him an enemy of the state in a signature lengthy speech. The remarks came in response to Biden last week questioning the ultra MAGA Republican patriotism for supporting January 6th insurrectionists and pulling support for law enforcement amid the widely publicized FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago. Things took a dark turn a little bit later. I'll get to that in a second. This is about face after pardoning several people convicted of selling drugs before he left office. Trump called for drug dealers to receive the death penalty. Under Democratic control, the streets of our great cities are drenched in the blood of innocent victims, and drug dealers were responsible for killing hundreds of people every year. The former president began. Every drug dealer is responsible, and that doesn't include what they've done to families of people that haven't died, but families that are just devastated by what happens to their children and to themselves. Trump then said that he was calling for drug dealers to receive capital punishment, where he claimed it would reduce drug distribution in our country on day one by 75% and save millions of lives. There we go. We would solve that problem so fast. I'm calling on Republicans and Democrats immediately to get to Washington and institute the death penalty for drug dealers. You will no longer have a problem. Per the article, and true to his brand, it's unclear where any of the numbers that Trump cited came from. Although he's made similar remarks while in office, channeling admiration and support for former Filipino President Rodrigo Duterte, and his open season for murdering suspected drug dealers in the Philippines. This time it's directly contradicting his own actions before leaving office. Trump used the presidential clemency powers to grant pardons and commutations to numerous people who were convicted of selling drugs. In October 2020, he granted 4 pardons to people convicted of nonviolent drug charges, including drug trafficking, conspiracy, selling, and distribution, before announcing in an official White House statement all had been model inmates who worked to improve themselves while incarcerated. During his final few days in office, he granted pardons and commutations to 143 people, and many of those had also been convicted for drug trafficking, conspiracy, and similar charges. He even pardoned Jonathan Braun, a smuggler serving a 10-year prison sentence for running a large-scale cannabis ring, in addition to accusations of being subject to an open investigation for violent crimes. The White House announced at the time that in an official statement, Braun would seek employment to support his wife and children. The former president's attacks took an even darker turn when he finally got around to addressing Fetterman directly. The Democratic Senate candidate and current lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania dresses like a teenager getting high in his parents' basement and supports taxpayer-funded drug dens and the complete decriminalization of illegal drugs, including heroin, cocaine, crystal meth, and ultra-lethal fentanyl. And by the way, he takes them himself. Fetterman responded to the rally by saying more and more lies from Trump and Dr. Oz another day, but it's the same crap from these two desperate and sad dudes. I often personally criticize Trump, playfully jabbing at my conservative friends and colleagues, but we've seen what his words can do to energize and mobilize his mindless base. As I resist the urge to dive deeper into the rhetorical rabbit hole here, just to prod and make fun of Jason Beck, I gotta ask the cannabis community directly: is this really the dude that y'all want to give a second chance at running this country? Is it worth it to have someone openly calling for the death penalty of drug dealers while cannabis legalization still hasn't passed on the federal level? This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. It's hot as fuck here in Los Angeles. I'd like to hear the rest of y'all's comments on this one.
Well, first of all, Rico, in order to know what Trump is really saying, you have to understand how to speak the language of Trump, okay? Because it's not just like normal English, okay? But basically, what Trump is basically saying is that fentanyl trafficking is at an all-time high, and that if you're caught trafficking in fentanyl in the country, you should be subject to the death penalty. That's what he's really saying. And I was actually watching the news today, and just in the last month at the border, okay, seizures from June to July have gone up over 203% of illicit drugs.
Where'd you get those numbers, Jason?
I got those numbers this morning from the Border Patrol Service.
From the Border Patrol.
From CBP. Those are official CBP numbers I received this morning.
And you're saying that we should not be taking Trump for anything that he's saying?
No, I'm saying you have to understand. You have to know how to understand what he's saying. Okay, when he's saying that all drug dealers should face the death penalty, that's what he's saying. He's referring to fentanyl, because fentanyl is the #1 crisis that America is facing currently. Not to mention,
fentanyl is a problem, but bigger problem, or another big problem, is the opioid epidemic. And he's not saying shit about that. And like, if we're having that conversation of just saying drug dealers, I mean, that's very dangerous and a very all-encompassing statement. And as it stands right now, they would still consider cannabis to be a drug. So making a blanket statement like that, like, we can't have like a doofus translator following people around trying to be like, well, what does this mean? This is what he actually meant. And it's like, if he would have said very clearly, we would like to go after fentanyl, I would be like, wow, yeah, that's real, because fentanyl's a fucking problem. Or if he was like, oh, we want to go after opioids, and said that, but he said drug dealers. So he could have just this overarching like umbrella statement towards drug dealers. Because, and let's just be real, Jason, you're a fucking drug dealer, and so am I. So if we actually had to have this conversation, Trump wants us to die.
I don't believe that Trump wants us to die.
Nicole, while I agree with you, more specific, I do believe also Trump is just, threading the needle for upcoming election, because there's,
Absolutely.
my grandma who would love for marijuana drug dealers to die too. So
exactly, and that's why it's like this umbrella statement, so that everybody could be like.
Especially like I would be making jokes about this shit, especially. But what after what happened for January 6th, like there should be zero fucking tolerance for this kind of shit, man. And if
what's wrong with this statement, Rico? This is quite a far cry from treason. What are you talking about? How are you equating the two?
For drug dealers, inciting a bunch of
fucking numbers. I
fucking
got no problem with death penalty for certain drug dealers as well. I think they're a horrible part of our society. I think a lot of people deserve the death penalty, including Donald Trump, for treason. But nobody wants to hear that from me.
Oh, fuck. We don't have time for that.
Yeah, brother.
Treason, Jason Beck.
But the thing is, whatever. Like, this Trump talk is enough. Like, why do we always have to have some translator, like, to say what he's saying? Like, just say what you mean. He does think you're a drug dealer, and he thinks that you should be dead. I mean, he says what he says. Like, why do we always...
I don't buy into that narrative. To me, that's just part of TBS.
Well, then tell your boy to be more specific and use English better.
Tell your boy that there's a dictionary probably somewhere in his office. If you think Trump is worried about low-level weed traffickers, okay, there's so many other things going on.
I think he thinks that we're just as fucking as much of pieces of shit as a lot of the other drug dealers. I don't think he's worried about us. I think he thinks that we're fucking trash.
Yeah, he thinks weed and fentanyl are both drugs. He's not differentiating again. So it's like that includes us.
Yes, 903 people took his words to heart and stormed the fucking Capitol for the insurrection, Jason. 903 people.
All Democrats.
Where's the translator? We just need the translator then, that's all.
All Democrats and FBI agents.
Jason, if you could just follow around Donald Trump and be his doofus translator everywhere, maybe you could save this country.
Maybe that'll be my next upcoming gig when he's the president again in 2024.
That'd be amazing.
Will it be an easy apply on LinkedIn? Do you think you can just click a button and apply to that, or do you think it's a little more in depth?
I bet he has the for hire.
I'm probably just gonna hang out at the Beverly Hills Hotel and wait till I see Stephen Miller or anyone else from the Trump administration hanging out over there.
Well, that's a perfect segue for you, Jason. We're going to go ahead and segue into our Donald Trump translator. Rico, thank you for that headline. That was an amazing story. Definitely some interesting conversations to be had. And up next, we have Jason Beck. Jason is known as the highest Republican that any of us will be willing to kick it with. And also our very own Kaiser Brose. He's the longest running retailer in the history of cannabis worldwide, and also the member of any political party that might piss you off. Jason Beck, what do you have for us today?
Yes, that's right. You want to get pissed off? Come, let's have a conversation. I'll definitely do my best to trigger you. Okay, and then I'll ask for a donation afterwards, so it's tax deductible.
Trigger warning, Jason Beck.
Yes. Today, my story comes out of New Jersey, where a New Jersey marijuana workforce training is coming to Central Jersey colleges. That way you guys can all get educated in this booming, budding economy of New Jersey. The city is again partnering with Union College to offer a 15-hour training course on how to get entry-level jobs into the state's growing cannabis industry. The online course, which will be held 6 to 9 p.m. on 5 Mondays, September 12th through October 10th, is the third time the New Jersey Cannabis Certified Program has partnered with Plainfield and the college. In a quote, "This historic partnership with the city of Plainfield is really one of a kind," Sarah Tent, founder of New Jersey Cannabis Certified and owner of Valley Wellness, a medical marijuana dispensary that will open on Route 202 in Raratian Borough in November, said in a news release. "I am not aware of any other municipality that has taken it upon themselves to fund cannabis workforce development training for their residents." The course covers the human body's endocannabinoid system, the basics of cannabis cultivation, an introduction to processing, products available in New Jersey and elsewhere, and the procedures working in a New Jersey medical cannabis dispensary, and how to assist New Jersey medical marijuana program patients that have qualifying conditions. Now, since they also said that they have products available here and there, I wonder where they're getting those from. But nonetheless, the story continues. They also say Mayor Adian Mapp said the partnership with the college is part of Plainfield's revitalization. It is vital as the city of Plainfield welcomes new industries that benefit first, Mapp said in a release. This means providing the avenue for them to get qualified and prepared to take advantage of opportunities as they become available. Plainfield, Mapp said, is experiencing a renaissance unlike anything seen in the past 5 decades. We are committed to lifting our community as we grow and improve, the mayor said, in the city is grateful to partner with the college. The feeling is mutual. The college says we are excited to partner with the city of Plainfield and continue our mission to build a trained workforce by partnering or preparing students to succeed in New Jersey's rapidly expanding cannabis industry. Lisa R. Hiscano, executive director of continuing education and workforce development at the college, said in the release. And just in case anyone's out there in New Jersey is listening, the cost of the course is $500. Valley Wellness has a limited number of tuition waiver vouchers for veterans. And while students must be 18 years or older to register for the course, most employers in the cannabis industry require workers to be 21 and pass a background test. And registration can be done online. And Rotarian Valley Community College in Branchburg will also be offering the New Jersey Cannabis Certified Program at the same time and dates, as well as the same cost, and registration can be done online. So I guess if you're in New Jersey and you need a job, you better go get qualified. It's only going to cost you $500. That might just be like an ounce or two out of New Jersey. Who knows? But nonetheless, this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
Okay, like who is doing this training? Like, is this actually some kind of legitimate stuff? It just sounds like, honestly, like a press release for another foof crap thing. Here's your certification letter from Liz.
I don't know. I feel.
I actually would feel pretty well certified if Liz and Chris trained me. Like if Liz gave me some science training and Chris gave me some security training, but it would be very specific to the thing that they were, not like an overall university. And I think that a lot of these universities that are coming online are taking people that understand like the basics of business and just like layering cannabis on it, or the basics of ag and layering cannabis on it. And a lot of it, real life, is very transferable, but a lot of it isn't. The continuum of we're just selling widgets amongst rich people and people that are obtuse and unaware of this industry is a continuation of a problem. We're like, oh, it's just another widget. It's like, yeah, it is, but it isn't. It isn't.
I think it gives clout, I guess, to the educators. You know, it's coming from a actual institution. Just like I think in Maryland, they were doing all of the courses to actually get a degree, an advanced degree in cannabis too. But just like Liz said, who's running these courses and what background do they have? What kind of clout do they have?
Well, and in New Jersey, what experience do they possibly fucking have to have run a cannabis business? Like, it's been a business for 6 weeks. You know, you're like, Mom, a 6 weeks experience. It's like the people that are like, I'm a veteran in the industry. I've been here for 3 years. I'm like,
it would be kind of cool. It would be kind of cool if they just brought in like all the released prisoners of the drug war, and they put them in charge of all these courses and taught them how things work from the street point of view.
I'll go one step further to say, though, like 97% of the people who actually are in the industry don't have any right fucking teaching a class either. Yeah. So, like, you know, the most experienced people, the majority of them, a majority of the most experienced people in this industry are not fucking teachers and have no right trying to step into that role.
I would say before we slam the hell out of this school for trying to put something together, because we don't know who they are bringing in for the training. They could have actually tried to bring in some folks who do have experience in cannabis. Doesn't mean they all had to have grown up in the city of Plainfield, New Jersey, to be a part of this. There have a number of schools across the country who have started adopting cannabis programs, undergrad and graduate. I know SUNY New York does it. I know Cornell does it. I know a number of the historically Black colleges are starting to embrace it as well. Of course, Humboldt University. I mean, there's plenty of places out there that have started teaching students about cannabis. And these are scientists, researchers, botanists, people who should have experience in this stuff. So I would just say, I think maybe we need a bit more information before we slam New Jersey for trying to help educate their workforce.
I think we need
no
to
one's
reach
slamming.
out to
We're
these
asking
schools.
questions, Gretchen. We're wondering who was it. No one's slamming.
We're aggressively wondering.
That's what we do here on the news.
Yes,
we aggressively wonder a lot of questions.
I love that.
Yeah.
My questions come with aggression.
Well,
we have
New Jersey has some good freaking flour. I mean, I remember from back in the day with that Garden State, like they do like the trap people, but like you said, are they meant to be teachers? And then like,
really?
I don't know about none of that, Liz.
Oh, okay. Well,
New Jersey has good flour. I mean, come on. I mean, you're in Santa Barbara and you're smoking outdoor weed. Come on.
Hey, well, this was like when I was originally, I'm from the East Coast, so like Pennsylvania is like where I grew up a lot. So there's pretty poor weed.
You know, in Pennsylvania, you know what they call weed, right?
No, booth.
Green corn.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like,
green corn.
The only other place is Virginia. I had cannabis that was like tobacco would be better. It was bad.
I do think that we should reach out to this school, and we should definitely make High at 9 News part of their curriculum as far as current affairs are concerned. And secondly, we have Lamont up from Clubhouse. Lamont, do you have a comment on this story? 20 seconds or less.
I didn't expect to be called on. Yeah, just real quick. I mean, it's good that anybody makes sure to be educated properly. I'm driving, so pardon me if I'm seem somewhat distracted. It's good. I think it's worth it to vet and make sure where you get this information is accurate and is something that is going to help you from people that know what the hell they're doing. I may be kind of biased because I'm a ganjier, and I learned from the ganjier program, which is through Green Flower. Green Flower also has GFI, which is Green Flower Institute, which helps a lot of colleges to impart curriculum so that they could teach students, and a lot of it is based on obviously that particular curriculum. I think, if you do research on who's teaching what and what experience that teacher or institution has, that's more important than the actual learning itself, because anybody can scrape content from YouTube and all over the place together to put in a module for people to go through and read, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to learn what you need to learn. You need to get it from people that do know what's going on. So like I said, I may seem biased. I'm not going to sit here and say the Ganjier program is the best and number one program to be in. It worked for me, but I would absolutely, one of the main things that drove me to it was the people that were involved. That was it.
Education is so important regardless to, all the shit talking that we started in the conversation. One of the main reasons that I definitely have so many opinions is I've been, kind of training and working in education past 14 years in this space. So I've seen a lot of people that come through and charge money. And so I just always say, be cautious. I'm not trying to talk shit. Just be cautious when people are charging $500 for an education program to know what you're actually paying for. And I'm not saying that this is a bad or a good one. I'm just saying, make sure that we're paying attention to know that, there's some good education coming through. And, there are companies that are selling snake oil right now. And there's a lot of companies that are going up to these up and coming states, and it's an epidemic problem at this moment of people trying to sell education when they have no right even asking you for like 5 minutes of your time to give them advice. So just be conscious. A lot of these there will be a bunch of snake oil salesmen. To be cautious, ask questions, and just assume that, honestly, every one of these interactions, I feel like it's like a timeshare interaction. Like, you gotta ask the right questions.
Yes, it's such a timeshare interaction. That's a fucking perfect example, Nicole.
But a lot of municipalities are starting to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I was just going to say a lot of municipalities are coming online with various educational content that is free for operators, which is awesome. CCSS helped with some training for the DCR down in LA, and then also with the city of Oakland, all for free. Didn't charge operators a penny for it, and it's recorded. They can come back and like consume it. And there's a bunch of different SMEs that contributed to various projects. So I like to see that.
I think this is great. I just want to echo what Nicole said, because it's like I've been an educator in the space for almost 18 years, and it's like freaking insane. I've walked out of things before and handed my cards out to people because these people are telling people like certain doses, like beginner dose is 33 milligrams. So again, it's like there's so many sources, like you guys said, but just vet it because it's insanity. And then these people are repeating it to other people, and it's just like, thank you.
Hell yeah. You guys ready to get to the next one?
Yeah, buddy. That was a
Let's
great story.
Do it. That was a great story. Appreciate that one. All right. So up next, this business, agricultural, and efficiency specialist has over 12 years industry experience and is known in certain circles to be somewhat of a SOP and spreadsheet god, straight flexing on organizational parameters and straight up blessing cats with pivot tables and formulas and shit. Coming to the stage next, you know who it is. It's the bullshit busting, self-described data bitch herself, Nichole West. What you got for us?
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. I'm showing up, freaking the sheets over here, spreadsheets, that is. My headline today is actually coming out of the Denver Post. I had to get through some paywalls, so pardon me. It's actually in regards to the 420 festival that happens every year in Denver at the Capitol building, at the City Center Park right across the street from the Capitol building. It's been going on for a very long time. It's been going on since prior to legalization, but it's become an actual festival. It was originally kind of like a grassroots movement where people just kind of took over Capitol Park. But in the past, I want to say 15 years or so, not 100% on the timeline, it's been an actual event. When I was in Colorado in 2016, we sponsored the 420 festival. We had Lil Wayne and Wiz Khalifa. It was crazy. It got snowed out, but this specific event is huge and it literally takes over the entire downtown. Well, apparently a cannabis business, beverage business is going to be paying $45,000 to the state of Colorado because they broke the rules at the Mile High 420 Festival in April. The violations resulted in $15,000 fine and an additional $30,000 that will be held in suspension for a year in case of future violations. So really, they're only paying $15,000 as long as they don't fuck up again. So Denver Packaging Co., which also operates as Keefe Brands, admitted to 7 violations on April 20th, including unlawful acts, packaging, and labeling, according to the city documents issued on Thursday. The business will have to pay fines within the next 90 days. Owner Andrew Vernon signed the settlement agreement on August 24th. The order includes stipulations for the company to continue to be licensed in Denver as a marijuana retailer, MIP company, or marijuana infused products. Denver Department of Excise and Licensing Inspector Brooke Bierman reported that she stopped by the Denver Packaging Co. booth at the festival, where the business had Keefe brand products on display, a large advertising sign, and 2 full coolers of the product. Now, it's very important to understand under regulation, when you're at these events, you are not allowed to give out products. And I help throw events all the time, and I'm constantly telling people this. And it recently happened here in California with another event, hasn't been published yet, but I will be talking about that soon, where the government is showing up to look at your booth and see if you're doing the right thing. And so the government agencies that show up are in plain clothes and they're asking normal consumer questions. So apparently when this person went up to the booth, they saw that they were giving out medicated products. So the event organizer, Adam Schmidt, told Bierman that he had communicated with sponsors that they were not allowed to have any products on site, according to the city documents. After Vernon arrived, he said that the product from Platte Valley Dispensary in Denver agreed to remove the products from his event. The department ordered the company to appear on July 21st to show why its retail and medical MIP manufacturer license shouldn't be suspended or revoked. The Denver Packaging Company takes pride that for nearly 8 years operating in Colorado, it's never ran into any regulatory issues or complaints. Unfortunately, a misunderstanding on the April 20th occurred between third brand promoters, city investigators, and our staff, accumulating in a documented violation by local regulators. The city's allegations were very serious, and we take full responsibility of our actions, Vernon wrote. We committed unlawful operations and will continue to enjoy bringing our unique product to the enthusiastic Colorado customers and produce our business lawfully. Keefe Brands was established in Boulder 2010. Its product selections include sodas with a burst of THC like Bubba Kush Root Beer or Orange Kush and Mr. Puffer. The company also offers other cannabis-infused items. So the Mile High 420 Festival, which took place in Civic Center Park, is billed as the largest 420 festival in the world, which has been going on, like I said, for years and years and years. I'm curious to see how the festival gets treated as well. I'm very curious to see how they their regulations in regards to this. And I'm also curious to see how people start to respond in Colorado with running these events and across the nation when the state says no free products, no medicated samples, don't give anything away. And now you're worried about potentially losing your license or facing that big fines. This is, not a surprise to me. So I'm curious what everyone else has to say. And I'm Nichole West, getting high at 9 with y'all.
This is a fantastic story, Nichole. I also saw in there that they made the CEO come in and sign a form agreeing to this fine, and I believe they are allowing them to keep their license, from what I read.
They are allowing them to keep their license. The fine is really only $15,000 with a $30,000 deposit, essentially, on potential future violations, which is just like, that's so fucking.
How long? How long does the government hold that for? That 30,000?
A year is what they said, to make sure that nothing happens over the next year.
And at the end of the year, with no violations, they'll basically just apply that probably to your sales tax. So you're not going to actually get that 30,000
not taxes.
back.
It's a different group, probably licensing fees, I would say.
Got it.
So it's like probation. They put them on like a financial probation.
Were they giving this away or they were selling it?
Yeah, they were giving them away at the booth, and it's against the law to give away medicated products. You have to have a transaction because, especially at these events, when they're selling products, certain events are able to sell products, right? Like in California, and if they have products that they are able to sell, those are associated with the store. And so in Colorado, they don't have the ability to sell products at events. And so you're not allowed to have any of that. You have to have like a bus or something to take someone to a dispensary. And so like, you're just allowed to have non-medicated samples. And so they had medicated samples and they were handing them out. And the 420 festival is an all ages event.
So by them not taking away your license, number one, and then also giving you the opportunity to pay against future fines, are they not just saying, yo, we're open for business, go ahead and pay your shit, or make sure if you're going to have 3 parties this year, make sure you got 45 racks set aside, or you can get on this.
Right. It's setting a precedent. Right. It's like the rich people, how they budget in getting sued.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I wonder if anybody was like medicated, Nichole, when I read this headline and I saw you grabbed it, I was like, awesome. Cause it always makes me think of that story. And I don't know if it was like chocolate or whatever you ate, but you ended up being like,
I got fucked up. At the Denver County Fair, Live Well had chocolate bars that they accidentally were giving out. And they say accidentally, there's a theory that one of their employees like put them in there on purpose. One of the people that had just getting let go, but who knows? I ate 300 milligrams while I was supposed to be working at a booth, and I fell asleep in a fucking car, and I woke up, it was 100 degrees outside. I was sweating all over myself. I'm fucking confused. I was like, how did somebody drug me? Like, I literally thought I was drugged. And so then 2 days later, the police, there was a cop that got fucking drugged, and it was at the fair. And it was the first time that there was ever a cannabis section at the fair, and the whole rule, no weed, anything. And I got fucked up, and I smoke a lot of weed. So like, imagine somebody that was just like, I don't smoke weed, ate a chocolate bar. They were 100 milligrams per chocolate bar, ate 3 of them. I thought they were fucking non-medicated and they were like little. So I was like, I put one in my coffee. I was fucking eating them. And so like, I could only imagine if something like that happened to somebody that doesn't know. And like, that's the kind of shit that happens when you have things at events like that. Like somebody that works for you that isn't paying attention or whatever, drinks it and now they're fucking passed out or whatever. Like you have to have conscious understanding when you give somebody something like that, that's drugging. And so like, I'm sure they weren't drugging anybody at the thing, but like that very easily could become an accidental drugging situation.
But some states, like I've seen Washington, right? They have like 100 milligram edibles or whatever drinks. And it's like, dude, I mean, that could not, like a kid had that or somebody else. Like seriously, like that could be pretty bad.
That's why they don't sell these things to kids, Liz.
Well, like you said, it was an open thing and they were giving it to everyone. Didn't you guys just say that about the?
Well, yeah, but a weed festival would be 21 and over if they were.
No,
a permitted
it's
event.
not. It's not. That's the thing. The 420 festival is in the city center park, and it was an open thing for years. It just started, and now they're turning it to a 21 and over, but it wasn't. No,
it was.
No wonder your kids were so well behaved. No wonder.
Will they do like have wristbands for the people who are 21 and over?
No, because they're not supposed to have any weed there.
How will that affect the person who applied for the license to hold the event? If somebody inside a booth.
That license has so much controversy. There's been like 30 people that have sold it because every couple years somebody gets in trouble for some fuck shit, and so then they sell it to somebody else because they're like, I can't do this anymore.
This story was amazing, but we need to do the relight, Nicole. We're way past time.
Awesome. Yeah. So the thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the status, legal substance, or any country, area, territory, or of its authorities. Views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not apply, constitute any endorsement by us, the expressions, opinions, and whatsoever any part of any of the speakers on stage. If you're an easily offended person, this show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Amazing. Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
She looks so comfortable in her historical exposed brick surroundings. And it looks like in that basement, if she was holding yoga classes, they would be called Stretching with Gretchen. But you know what? She's a full-time feisty redheaded conservative with Mayflower roots and an unhealthy love for safe banking. And come to the stage, you know who it is. It's the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington Insider. Happy afternoon, Gretchen Gailey. Glad to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you, Rico. This is not my basement, but I appreciate the shout out to my historical home. My headline is coming from KMA out of Iowa. And the headline is Grassley favors regulated medical marijuana use, but hesitant on recreational legalization. Voters and state legislators, including in KMA land, continue to debate how strict guidelines should be on different uses of marijuana. Since voters in the states of Colorado and Washington decided to legalize the recreational use of marijuana over a decade ago, 17 other states and Washington, D.C. have passed similar laws. Meanwhile, all but 11 states allow some form of medical use, including Iowa and Missouri, which legalized the use in 2017 and 2018, respectively. Speaking with reporters after his final town hall meeting on his 99-county tour Tuesday, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley says he favors some forms of the cannabis plant, including the 2018 Farm Bill, which removed hemp from its designation under marijuana in the Controlled Substances Act. He said, I voted for that in the Farm Bill of 2018, so hemp for commercial purposes, I'm very much in support of. I'm in support of medical marijuana, but not on a willy-nilly basis. So I'm in favor of it going through the FDA for the two things they check on, safety and efficacy. But Iowa's senior senator says the current regulations through the Food and Drug Administration are essential to ensure the drug's effectiveness for medical use. Because I held hearings a few years ago and the Judiciary Committee brought in people whose kids had used medical marijuana for their health problems, and they said sometimes it does work and sometimes it doesn't work. So I want to be careful that it's got quality. Voters in Missouri will be deciding this November at the ballot box whether to allow the recreational use of marijuana for adult 21 years of age or older. As of now, Grassley says he would not be in favor of national legalization for recreational use. He said, I've got to have proof that it doesn't lead to harder drugs. As I get some information from what's going on in states that have legalized it, I think there's social problems that you have to consider. The Bipartisan Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research Expansion Act, which Grassley co-sponsored in the Senate, passed the U.S. House in July with 325 votes. The bill would allow the Food and Drug Administration and Drug Enforcement Administration to further research marijuana and its possible uses. While this is not earth-shattering news that Chuck Grassley is not the biggest fan of adult use, my interest in the story is that Chuck Grassley is up for re-election. This is his 8th time running for re-election. The man will be 89 in a week. And he's 1,000 years old, basically. And he's going to be the leader of drug policy in this country, whether we like it or not. I think it's interesting, though, that he is willing to talk about it. I think this goes back to our earlier story with good old Donald Trump and candidates trying to thread the needle on where they stand when it comes to cannabis. I think he also sees the writing on the wall when, a state like, was it Kansas that did the abortion upset a few weeks ago, or a few months ago or whatever, saying that they wanted to keep abortion laws. I think people are seeing that folks are more progressive, are more willing to take on these issues, and old guys who are 1,000 years old like him, who love reefer madness, are going to have to get on board, and they're looking for ways that they can do it. So now is the time to be out there pushing your representatives, pushing your senators to care about cannabis, because right before an election, they have to thread that needle and they want your vote. So tell them that you want cannabis and that's the only way you're voting for them. This Gretchen for State of, what are we now? High 9 News.
High at 9 News. Gretchen.
Willy-nilly.
I love this story. Did you catch the major, I think it's probably the most important line in this entire story, is he set himself up for, that's right, Rico, the pivot. Did you catch the line that he said with the pivot, Gretchen? Where
Which
he specifically, the portion where he says that I'm not for recreational use until I learn more about what it, yes, that's the pivot. More. That's the
Joe
pivot
Biden
right there.
That's not the pivot. That's kicking
that's
the
pivot line right there to show that he can evolve on the issue. Don't have to
worry about this anymore because he's on death's door. He's 89.
I just want to say I'm sad that with a name like Grassley, he's not more pro cannabis, because that's such a sweet fucking last name. It's like with Kushner and like, come on, guys. Like, I need you to be on board. But I didn't really know anything about this guy, so I Googled him just now. And first thing that I typed his name, and then I typed Grassley, and then I typed in cannabis. And the first thing that popped up is this like website normal link of all these fucking quotes that he said about cannabis over the years. And it was like, consider this when voting for this person, which I think is pretty cool that Normal does this. I didn't realize it's like it quotes a bunch. And the one, marijuana is illegal because it's dangerous. When you smoke marijuana or use any other drug, it negatively affects your brain. It changes the way you think or your ability to learn and how well you can remember. It also can lead to addiction and linked to later abuse of other drugs and long-term studies by the National Institute of Drug Abuse. For this reason, I will forever oppose the legislation that would legalize or otherwise expand the marijuana industry. 710. Ironic that it was on 7/10/2020. He said
that was over 2 years ago, and he's just set himself up for the pivot.
You know what?
He's going to be like just like Dr. Oz. He's going to pivot and he's going to get with the program, but he's not there yet. He needs to evolve just a little bit more.
Dude, that is the cannabis industry's dance. It's like pivot and pivot.
Yeah, like straight up in support of your statement, Jason. It's obvious that Chuck Grassley has kept his ankles taped up for fucking years to be this old and to pivot that hard. It's fucking phenomenal. He's the LeBron James of fucking.
I think some of these scary.
No, he's the Ross Geller. Come on.
Some of these scary
no one's gonna mention. No one's gonna mention Nicole's comment.
I think it's also important to remember good old Chuck is a Democrat. So, if they're ancient as hell, like most of the Senate is.
Chuck Grassley's not a Democrat.
Yes, he is.
Chuck Grassley is a Republican. No, that is fake news.
What are you smoking right now?
Chuck Grassley is a fucking Republican.
Chuck Grassley is a Republican. What are you talking about, Gretchen?
All right, either way.
Drugs.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
I will say this. I understand.
He's besties with Dianne Feinstein.
He is besties with. That's what I was about to say. He is besties with Dianne Feinstein, which does make him questionable.
Feinstein's been in office since the age of the Dixiecrat, anyways, right?
Well, not only that, but Dianne Feinstein also wrote on the backs of HIV and AIDS patients trying to get elected and doesn't do anything for them when it comes to cannabis, and it's just ironic and shameful.
Well, get these old folks out, because apparently Gretchen and Jason are ageists.
Well, I am an ageist. When it comes to cannabis, everyone should be an ageist. Are you kidding me? It's all the old people.
I'm disappointed.
I like old people.
I'm disappointed in all of you right now for not picking up on Nicole's Friends reference. I'm very sad about that.
Well, you want to reprise it for us?
Yeah, what do you say?
Yeah, come on. No, we can't.
Get off these ageist comments, because I like our senior citizens. They take care of us.
The other thing, though, is like, seriously, I mean, looking at their age, and like, I do appreciate what Gretchen's saying. I mean, it's like this guy, I mean, he's taking a more measured approach, which a lot of people could follow, and for an older gentleman, it is pretty cool that he's at least got somewhat more of an open mind.
Even though he doesn't really have an open mind about what happened in the closing hours of the last president, which I will not name.
I will say his website is very blue for a Republican.
Theories. What's that, Nicole?
His website is very blue for a Republican. Like, I'm looking at it. It doesn't say he doesn't say anywhere that he is a Republican on his website.
Iowa looks less to the actual candidate and more to the general populace.
He's got pictures of him in cornfields and like he's the good old American.
They look less at the party. They look less at the party in Iowa and more to the person, I should say.
Yeah, I think that these older candidates are realizing that this is finally an issue they need to address. And if they got to stand in a hemp field looking like that's how they care about cannabis, that's what they're going to do.
Gretchen weeds the fountain of youth. He just wants to live longer.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's going for an 8th term. I mean, God.
He's gonna run.
You want to live longer? Smoke more weed. If you want to
we're definitely a time on that.
Smoke more weed.
It's hot as fuck.
Smoke more weed.
All right. Thank you so much for that story, Gretchen. Coming to the stage next is a true Renaissance woman known for bringing the data and not the drama. She's an educator, a brand strategist, a healthcare consultant, and founder of the Cannabis Business Council of Santa Barbara County. It is none other than the Liz Rogan.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, everyone. Happy Holiday Monday. Thank you for joining us here at High at 9 News. My story today comes from Marijuana Moment by Kyle Yeager. The headline reads, Congressman showcases marijuana gummies from California dispensary to promote bipartisan dank cannabis research bill. So this is a tiny bit dated. They just reported it today, but I noticed this is actually from an August 31st incident. So in July, the bipartisan cannabis research bill sponsored by Democrat Scott Peters and Representative from California and Representative David Joyce, Republican of Ohio, introduced the Developing and Nationalizing Key Cannabis Research Act, which is DANK in short, which I know Rico reported on, and I think that name was great. So it was an August 31st press conference at the University of California, San Diego. Representative Peters displayed a package of cannabis gummies he got from a California dispensary. He was underscoring the challenges that scientists face under federal prohibition, basically by actually looking at the actual products in the actual dispensaries. So he could easily obtain that cannabis product from a state legal retailer, but saying researchers must jump through multiple bureaucratic hoops to receive federal authorization for cannabis, and the products come from federally contracted sources rather than commercial retailers. He's basically kind of making a press thing. So he's saying, here's a tin of gummies. Look, I can get this here and all these people can get them, but researchers can't go in and buy them and test it. So the DANK Act would set a federal cannabis research agenda and create designation for universities to carry out cannabis studies with federal grant money. And they would be protected from federal prosecution, and they can get their cannabis products from the state legal dispensaries. So also speaking alongside Peters at the press conference was researchers Igor Grant and Mark Wallace, along with labor organizer Todd Walters from the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. And the DANK Research Act would require National Institutes on Health, NIH, to collaborate with other agencies, including the CDC and Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, to develop a national cannabis research agenda that addresses key questions and gaps in evidence. The agenda would have to look at 6 primary research objectives, such as prioritize studies into safety and efficacy of a treatment of multiple conditions, such as like medical conditions like epilepsy, MS, chemotherapy-related pain and nausea, and also using cannabis as an opioid alternative. So this doesn't seem to be like, this is basically seeming to me overall more like just a press thing to show like, oh, look, we're trying to move this forward. There is other bills in Congress. Let's see, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to approve another bipartisan research bill that was intended to expedite and simplify the process of authorization to assess the risks and benefits. But that measure wouldn't allow the researchers to study dispensary cannabis. So anyway, this is all supposed to be taken up by the Senate before potentially being sent to the president's desk. So I'm Liz Rogan. I'm reporting for the state. I'm reporting, getting high at 9 with you guys. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm just smoking joints after I hear Trump's name. But anyway, I would love to hear what you guys have to think. Is this just like a press op to try to get himself moving, or is this something really going to happen?
I think the name of it's going to do a disservice. I think that was like fucking stupid of them. And they should have done something more sciencey and more like act now, like something like that, not some fucking stoner ass word like dank, because when that shows up on a desk, and I know it sounds stupid that's even something that but it actually is that
you're
stupid,
100%
Gretchen?
right. You're actually 100% right.
Yeah, people take that shit
I
lightly.
think there's a fine line between stupid and picking an acronym that people will remember.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason to use something notable so people will remember and support it. Liz, what does DANK stand for? Does it say?
Yeah, it's the sorry, it's like it's a word, you know, it's a
acronym.
Developing and Nationalizing Key Cannabis Research Act.
All right. Well, whatever. I don't.
So they're spelling dank, DANC.
DANK.
Key research. The key
research.
Right. They fucking had to throw the word key in there.
Yeah, and they use the A and as part of their acronym. This is destined to fail.
That's kind of weak. That's
how many people?
That's a weak acronym.
How many people know what dank really means, though? Like, really? Like, do you think the average mainstream person knows that dank would mean like cannabis? Or
the average weed person, yes. Any weed industry would know that.
In the weed industry, but the real world, I've had my little cousins say that was dank in the way of like describing something being wet and like underground.
Yeah,
like that's what that word means.
A worm? What are they talking about? Collecting worms? Or
I thought that was rank.
No,
rank is smelly.
Yes.
But I thought you had a rank
basement. Like dank basements on the East Coast. Like, you know.
Yeah, rank
disagreeably damp, musty, and typically cold. My cousin has a basement and he describes it as dank all the time. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like a little kid. And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? And he looks it up and he Googles it and he shows me and I'm like, that's what dank means. And so like it means disagreeably damp, musty, and cold.
You think disagreeably
damp memes? What does agreeably damp mean?
Disagreeable, right? You're like, this is a great amount of damp.
It basically means you can't disagree that it's damp. You can't disagree that it's damp is basically what it means. It means that the dampness is right.
So is water wet? Any favors either way, really?
What is water wet if you're actually in it?
I don't know how much time we have to go down this rabbit hole, but is water
everybody
wet?
out of the water?
We don't.
The one thing I will say that I do like about this bill, I like that it's specific. I like that it's going to force people to vote for something. It's not part of a 500-page bill. There's no reason people, if they're on board with research, shouldn't say, yes, let's protect our higher institutions of learning. Let's actually research the cannabis that people are buying. I think this is a good piece of legislation they're putting forward. And I don't think it's just a press op.
So it's not a press op. I wish they would have like spelled the dank though with a C, DANC.
See, just the naming of the fucking bill has everybody talking about the fucking name rather than the story. So anything that comes
but you're talking about it.
Yeah, we were talking about exactly.
Yep,
you're talking about it. Yeah, you're talking about it. It's hitting the streets. It's a dank bill.
I don't know.
After we talk so much about it, who without looking at your fucking screen or anything, do you remember the name? What the acronym stands for?
Sure.
Dank.
Exactly. This is gonna fail.
Development and yeah, I remember development and I remember and was A.
I remember and.
N stands for probably like
key.
Nocturnal.
I remember the key.
And the key, and the K is the key. K is key. Yeah. I remember the 2 3-letter words for sure.
I mean, for real, look at other ones. Do you remember what the CAOA actually stands for? But you remember what SAFE stands for. I mean, SAFE is what we're talking about, but no one can pronounce
any acronym over 3 letters.
I'm just saying.
Any acronym over 3 letters is going to fail.
All right.
There's all sorts of acronyms. I mean, some of them are ridiculous.
Gretchen, do you think this bill is actually gonna go somewhere?
I think if you can hide it somewhere, it could go somewhere. You need to hide it in something bigger.
All right.
After you just said that it's nice because it's simple.
I like that you gotta hide it.
I like it.
You need simple, but it's not the right answer.
Simple, but hide that shit.
Or you push it through during the link up. You wait till after.
We got one more. We got one more story. We got to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Liz. That was obviously a very fun conversation at the very least. And let's see how dank does. But also everyone who didn't know what the word dank actually meant, get a dictionary. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get to one of my favorite correspondents. This is somebody who I originally met through Clubhouse. And I thought for sure This guy is still undercover. But as it turns out, he's not. He's just an ex-cop who realized that being a cop wasn't that fun. So welcome to the dark side, or the dank side. We've got Cookies, founder of CC Security Solutions. Chris Eggers, what do you have for us today?
Thank you for the intro. You're making me cry with laughter over here. My article today comes out of Forbes, and the headline reads, Pennsylvania governor launches program to pardon marijuana convictions. So Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf and fellow Democrat Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, the party's candidate for U.S. Senate, announced on Thursday the creation of a new program to pardon past convictions for marijuana offenses. They're calling it the Pennsylvania Marijuana Pardon Project. And it's described as a, quote, coordinated effort for one-time large-scale pardoning project for people with select minor nonviolent marijuana convictions, criminal convictions. And this is a statement according to the governor's office. So Wolf and Fetterman have long advocated for the legalization of adult use cannabis in Pennsylvania, where lawmakers legalized medical marijuana in 2016. But in 2019, Fetterman embarked on a 98-day tour to visit each of the state's 67 counties to hold town hall meetings on legislation and legalization, after which he estimated about 70% of residences supported continued marijuana reform. And on Wednesday, Wolf said that, quote, I have repeatedly called out our Republican-led General Assembly to support the legalization of adult use marijuana, but they've yet to meet this call to action from myself and Pennsylvanians. Until they do, I am committed to doing everything in my power to support Pennsylvanians who have been adversely affected by minor marijuana offenses on their record. So Pennsylvania Board of Pardons began accepting applications to the Marijuana Pardon Project on Thursday, and the drive will continue through September 30th. So anybody from Pennsylvania, that's a hard deadline, according to this article. Those eligible for the pardon include people with convictions for one or both of two specified offenses for low-level marijuana possessions. Individuals can apply for an accelerated pardon through a one-time project online. Once a person submits their application, they will be contacted if any other necessary follow-up is needed. Wolf went on to say that the Pardon Project has the potential to open the door for thousands of Pennsylvanians, the college grad looking to start their career, the grandparent who's been waiting to chaperone a field trip, or any other Pennsylvanian who's been told no for much needed assistance. Fetterman said that the Marijuana Pardon Project will deliver second chances to thousands deserving Pennsylvanians trying to improve their lives when the GOP lawmakers refuse to, quote, take the common sense approach and just legalize it. He further states that nobody should be turned down for a job, housing, or volunteering at your child's school because of some old nonviolent weed charge, especially given that most of us didn't even think this should be illegal. I'm interested to see if anyone in the audience has comment on this, but I'd like to also add that Fetterman drew the attention of Republican lawmakers for flying a cannabis leaf flag from the balcony of his state capitol office, won the Democratic Party nomination for the U.S. Senate seat being vacated by GOP Senator Pat Toomey. Fetterman believes that the support of cannabis reform can be the key to Democrat success in this year's general election. On Monday, he called on President Joe Biden to decriminalize marijuana at the federal level through executive action before Labor Day, when they will both be in Pittsburgh for the city's holiday parade. Thank you for letting me contribute today at High at 9. My name is Chris Eggers. Curious to see what my fellow correspondents think, and if anyone from the audience is from Pennsylvania wants to come up on stage.
As the next cop, Chris, I'm curious to ask, how expeditious do you think this will actually be? As an ex-cop who's also helping me get my record expunged currently, which, by the way, thank you, Chris. Chris has donated his time and got one of his lawyer buddies to help me get my record expunged from Colorado. And it's not that easy. So as somebody who's also ex-law enforcement and also has now witnessed what that process looks like in Colorado, how easy do you think this is actually going to be?
It's not easy. I mean, it's hopefully easier, right? But the process, from my personal standpoint, working with Nicole and trying to help work on that situation is not as quick as I thought it would be. Or, it's like, I'm actually really shocked how slow this process is moving, right? And so to do it on one mass scale and try to execute on that, I really don't know. I mean, maybe they have their all their ducks in a row and have, I don't know, some other resources to be able to just sort of rubber stamp all of them. I'm not sure, but it is a really slow really slow process.
How much
money? How much he actually is waving that flag, that cannabis flag from the fucking governor's office? Big ups to that.
How much money did he put allocate for this expedition?
I don't think the article mentioned what the budget was for that. That's a really good question.
That's going to depend on how fast it moves. Is how much money they're putting behind it.
And how
I think the article didn't reference that budget, which is a good question.
A whole lot of talk coming from a guy who's running for Senate.
And I hope that he's using cannabis in his recovery.
I'm with you, Gretchen, but I do like this talk, though. I do like this
I don't mind it. And Fetterman, as his role in Lieutenant Governor, he was also in charge of the Department of Corrections. So he is a man who should know what's going on when it comes to this side of things. So hopefully he will have built a program that works. I think the more interesting news we'll see coming out of Pennsylvania this week is if Joe Biden is smoking a blunt on the back of a convertible with Fetterman in the Labor Day parade today. We'll see if that happens.
No. I was reading a story. They're staying away from each other.
He's not going to talk to him?
Both of them are teetering on the edge.
I don't think he is, but he may. You never know.
They both need to take some CBD, like some mega CBD there. Definitely, full spectrum.
Hop on the shot bus.
Today's the parade. Let's see if they're together, smoking
people
big
want
ones.
THC.
You know what's cool though, you guys? Like we're seeing this big wave of all these people being like, we're gonna pardon everything, like everybody all over. I know we're at the end. But like, is this like really happening? Is this? It sounds like what Chris is saying and all this stuff. It's just so much more. Just like, is this just overall publicity?
Yeah, you're right, Liz. We need to find someone. We need to find someone who's actually going through this process and follow them along through the Pennsylvania process to see if this system is real or if it's just a puff piece.
That's
tough on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
I'm sure I can find some friends who have this issue. I reached out.
Please find some friends.
Let them know that this program
That'd be great.
was around.
Please find some friends.
Yes.
Find some friends. We'll follow them on this journey of getting unfucked by the government. So thank you all for tuning in on this lovely Labor Day Monday. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you to our sponsors. Big shout out to Gretchen and Chris and Liz for coming on and letting us see your beautiful faces this morning. Rico and Jason, this is such an amazing journey. We are having such a good time, and we really couldn't do it without the power of the cat. 3 is 4. Thank you for keeping us on and live every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon Eastern. You're getting high at 9 with us. Run that outro, y'all.
Bye.
Oh, yeah. Run it.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.